Hi everyone, I am here today with my favourite reads of 2018 so far. Excuse if I'm looking quite lacking of makeup, it is meltingly hot today and I'm about to go out sunbathing after this, so there's not much point putting makeup on if it's all going to melt off. So normally for these videos I do 5 books or maybe I do 10 books. This one I'm doing 11 because I didn't see the point in just leaving off one, because I base this on what books I've given 5 stars to throughout the year so far. And I've given 11 books 5 stars, so I may as well just cover all 11. So I have managed to order these. They are from my least favourite 5-star read, which is still an amazing book, up to my absolute favourite of the year so far. And it'd be interesting to see which of these make it onto my more strict one for the end of the year. So at number 11 we have got Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I wouldn't necessarily normally worry about mentioning Harry Potter books, but this used to be one of my least favourites along with Chamber of Secrets, and it definitely made a real impact on me this time. I enjoyed it a heck of a lot more than previous reads, and so I thought it was really worth mentioning that this is now as much loved as the rest of the series for me. At number 10 we have got Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, the illustrated edition. Now Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is probably my favourite book in the series anyway, probably. But this illustrated edition just made my reading experience even more incredible. I just can't even begin to explain how amazing these illustrated editions make your reading experience. This one is probably going to be my favourite illustrated edition, let's face it, because they're going to get to the point where they're going to be getting too big to read comfortably soon. Not that this was a comfortable read, it's really heavy, so I'm going to go and put that down. At number 9 we have got a book that surprised me because I mainly picked it up because I think I'd pulled it out of my TBR bag. And this is Being a Boy by James Dawson, aka these days Juno Dawson. And this book just was so entertaining, yet so also thought-provoking. It really opened my eyes to what it's like to actually be a boy. It would also be a really good read if you are a young boy, because it will help you just sort of sort out what's going on in your head. But yeah, to read as like a 32-year-old woman, it was still a great read, and I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, considering my age, and I'm definitely not the target audience for this book. At number 8 we have Miss Marvel Volume 2 Generation Y. So this is part of the Miss Marvel graphic novel series, and this one again just blew me away. Some characters show up that you know from other places in the Marvel universe, and so that just made this one that extra bit more fun. And I mean, they're great reads anyway. It's a great sort of story about how strong a person can become mentally, because she starts off quite mentally weak at the beginning of like turning into Miss Marvel, but as things grow, and by this second like edition she is just killing it. She's amazing. Next we have Revival by Stephen King. This is the first, and indeed at this point only, book I have ever read by Stephen King, and it just blew me away. I did not expect this from it, especially since it isn't a typical one to pick up. It's not like one of his horrors, it's not one of the more well-known ones. It's one that came out about, I want to say about 7 years ago, and so it's not one that people rant and rave and craze about quite as much as some of the others. And I just thought that this book is probably, if anything, quite underrated and underhyped. It is quite slow at times. I've heard that's quite typical of Stephen King, to have a lot of description, a lot of just setting the scene, a lot of building up of the scene, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It all came to a really quite gruesome end, considering it isn't one of his horror ones, and I just loved the character study, the journey that the characters went on. I highly recommend checking this one out. Next we have a book that I read a few weeks ago, and this is Two Steps Forward by Graham Simsian and Anne Buist. I have got a full spoiler-free review for this book because I enjoyed it that much, so if you want to check that out I'll link that in the cards and also in the description down below, along with any other reviews that I've got for books in this list. But yeah, this is about 2 separate people who kind of meet up on and off while walking the Camino, which is a walk that can be done either through France or through Spain or through France to Spain. There's like loads of different routes you can do, and it's like meant to be like an old pilgrimage route, and people still walk it to this day. It helps them sort of process thoughts going on in their head, or they might just want to challenge themselves. It's really quite eye-opening how this book can open your eyes to like looking after yourself mentally, and also what a physical challenge the walk is. I'd never even heard of it before reading this book, and I just fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the writing, the character development, and yeah, really enjoyed this. Next we have a very recent entry. This is Heartstopper Volume 1. So I first heard about this over on Kath's channel at Kath Elizabeth Reads. She had read this and it's online right now as a webcomic. Oh, and it's by Alice Oseman, I forgot to say that. It's online as a webcomic, and she has like created this free series that she's been slowly sort of building up, and it's been going on for quite a while on there, and it's going to get published later this year, and I need to get a copy because I fell in love with this. So this is about two, can't remember their age now, teenage, mid-teenage boys who kind of make friends. Like one of them is gay, and the straight one, or thinks he's straight, spoiler alert, it's not a spoiler really, kind of makes friends with him and gets him into things like rugby, and you know, just takes him under his wing a bit, and because he's older, and like kind of gets him involved in his friendship crowd a bit, which is a horrible group, they are horrid. And yeah, they just slowly develop their friendship, and it slowly starts turning into more, and it covers the guy who thought he was straight kind of like questioning his sexuality. He doesn't know what he is anymore. He's really confused. It's a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful story, and I highly recommend checking it out. If I remember, I'll put a link to the webcomic in the description down below so you can check it out, because I honestly started reading this because I thought, oh, this sounds like a cute, quick read. I need to boost my Goodreads challenge. I'll check it out since Kath recommends it. By the end of it, I was like, I need more. And I was just like so happy to have read it, so in love with it, so in love with the characters, and yeah, it's amazing. In fourth place, we have got The Diviners by Libba Bray. I picked this up earlier on in the beginning of the year and was hoping to enjoy it, and indeed I did. So this is a YA historical paranormal kind of novel, which just blew me away, quite honestly. It's focused in the 1920s in New York, so you've got like the flapper times and like loads of speakeasies and stuff, so you've got all that going on, and there's this like kind of horrible serial killing going on, but then you've also got the setting and everything else, and I thought this was fantastic. If you for some reason haven't picked this series up yet, you really need to. So at number 3 we have got The Woman at 72 Derry Lane by Carmel Harrington. I read this a couple of months ago, and just I can't remember the last time I cried so much at a book. This was really quite something. It's a contemporary set in Ireland, Dublin I think actually, and follows 3 different perspectives, and they all end up linking up in one way or another. But you've got a woman who's being abused by her husband, you've got a woman who has agoraphobia, and you have got this other story, and you're not quite sure how it all fits in. And this is a story about friendship, about loss, about kind of finding your inner strength to overcome your problems. And again, I highly recommend this. It was a fantastic read and made me cry so much. Then at number 2 we have got This Mortal Coil by Emily Savada. I had the wonderful opportunity to interview this author earlier in the year, so I'll leave that interview linked in the cards in the description down below if you want to check that out. I've also got a review of this book, and this book just really surprised me because I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I ended up doing, because it's very science heavy. It's kind of set in this dystopian sci-fi sort of version of the world now that's like got the equivalent of zombies in it. They're not zombies, but they're very similar, and it's quite gross, it's thrilling, there's quite interesting and lovable characters in there, and the main character is so strong as a female. She's got like so much desire to kind of get through the awful world that she is in. I just loved this. I can't wait for the sequel, which comes out later this year. And yeah, I highly recommend checking this out too, because even if you're not normally someone who sort of reads a bit of sci-fi kind of stuff, this will blow your mind. So at number 1, we have got a book that I didn't expect to love this much. And as a result, because I loved it more than anything, I think it'll probably end up staying my favourite book of the year, to be honest, because I don't see how anything can top this. And this is Clean by Juno Dawson. So Juno Dawson has got 2 entries on this list. And oh my goodness, this book. So this is a book that is YA contemporary and focuses on a girl who gets checked in against her will into a sort of rehab, but not normal typical rehab, because she's like really rich. So her brothers kind of just checked her into this place to help her get over her, quite frankly, horrific heroin addiction. She's a full-blown junkie. And in this place she also meets some other people, and they've got different addictions, and they're all really different, and you get to see not only their progress but also her progress as she goes through the slow and steady withdrawal of heroin before then moving on to kind of just feeling herself become more herself again. And she realises that she wasn't herself when she was on heroin. She was a totally different person, and you see that as you read the book. You go on such a journey with her through the story. I just can't recommend this book enough. It is written fantastically. There is so many interesting characters. It's just special. And it's such an important book, but it also really just helps you escape your own real world, your own problems, and kind of helps you think about how you should be dealing with them too. It's such a special read. I cannot recommend this book enough. It's definitely the book that I'm going to be kind of pushing on to anyone and everyone I know, although you do also need to be careful of the triggers involved, because triggers are plenty. But yeah, that brings me to the end of my favourite books of 2018 so far. Please let me know what your favourite reads have been in the comments down below. Let me know if any of these are also in your favourites. And yeah, I can't wait to get to the end of the year and see if any of these make it into the top 5, 10, however many I end up doing, especially the likes of Clean, which I'm pretty sure, as I said, is going to still be at number 1 at the end of the year, but who knows, let's wait and see. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking the image of me if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me, and I will see you soon. Bye bye!